What's up, guys? Good morning. Monday morning here. Happy birthday, Buff. We have
I appreciate that, man. We are live.
Yeah, I don't want to say we have a great show today. Obviously, we were hoping to be getting all jacked up for Game 7. It was a tough loss. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the breakdown on the NBA Finals. Obviously, it looked like the NBA wasn't super excited about two Midwest teams going to battle, but I think it's going to be a great series. Going to talk about the Judge Ohtani battle. I thought that was really exciting. I thought both players stepped up great. And talk about some other, things. This is kind of a weird time in sports, right? Hockey doesn't start for a week. Not like we ever talk hockey on the show. NBA doesn't start for close to a week. Baseball is kind of in the dog days. So we'll talk about some other things. I want to say maybe pet peeves about celebrations. Also about the Stephon Diggs thing. We always kind of wrap it up with talking football. But first, there's no Game 7 today. We brought it up on Monday. And it was just one of those things, Buff, what did you think? Just from, I know you're bouncing around that day, but I know you watched the recap. And what do you think about the way it all unfolded? Because I know we were texting back and forth. And
I was so disappointed with the way that it finished. I wore black for your Knicks.
Yeah.
Obviously, I thought it's always cool, man, whenever you see these magical runs and you get caught up with a team who your buddies are rooting for, or just, you recognize it's a team that's on a run, that's doing things, that they're figuring it out kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I thought that the way that they had really attacked in the previous Game 5, and the way that they had Halliburton in trouble, Tyrese Halliburton in trouble up at the front court, he made some bad decisions. I thought that the defense was definitely going to be able to lock it down. And then here comes the game, right? I got all these thoughts. I'm actually starting to buy in on Knicks getting Game 6, pushing it back to MSG. The line, Vegas thought it was going to be close. It was only like a 4-point line. It was like 3.5, 4. I was really starting to buy in. And you see this first half come out, and it was close. So I love that. You weren't getting blown out right away. You know what I mean? That's always a big step. Okay. Yeah. So that was big. And then you're kind of watching the game progress. You see Indy go on a few runs, and the Knicks seem to answer every little run on the way back. It got to halftime. I'm like, all right, it's the third quarter. I'm looking at the halftime lines, and I even texted you. I was like, your big's got to show up. Karl Anthony Towns wasn't doing anything. Robinson wasn't doing anything. And once the third quarter came out, I felt the commitment that Thibodeau requires that team on defense gassed them. Yeah. And every time that they were trying to be so committed on the defensive end of the floor, it's so tough because Indy's just so fast, and you're in an all-out sprint. And I'm going to touch on him later. You got Obi Toppin just running around. He's just like this supercharged, player who's always itching to get out there. And it's tough for you guys to keep up. You made a couple of runs whenever you were down 15, and it was just too short, too little, too late. I thought you did okay with Halliburton. He was limited in points, but he still had 13 assists. So, Siakam obviously did his thing. Super disappointed with the way that the Knicks ended. You had some awful participation from Josh Hart, right?
Yeah.
He was not who he was supposed to be in that game. You had Landry Shamet with 12 points. That was your biggest contribution from the bench. How are you going to win with that right there? And you put all this pressure on your starters, right? That was literally after that, Miles McBride, 2 points. I knew you had something to say with a particular play about Miles. And then you had Delon Wright with 2 points. So, that's tough, man. What do you think about
Yeah. So
what do you think about the commitment of the defense that I thought that gassed you?
I thought the biggest issue early on, it was real demoralizing on a make. We would make a bucket and they would have a fast break, 2-on-1, easy bucket. It happened I think four times throughout the whole game on
Just
a
a quick
make.
outlet pass, right?
That never happens in the NBA. That's like literally you don't see that in AAU ball, 11 and 12 ball, maybe like 7 and 8 or 9 and 10 with a horrible coach that you would see on a make a 2-on-1 fast break. So to me, early on, it was like we were battling, but every bucket we made, we kind of had to earn. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
every bucket they made, and I remember saying at halftime, I think we're down 4, and I felt like we were lucky we were down 4. Javi says that we're celebrating a second round. We were happy to beat the NBA champions. And also, I'm going to say this. I beat this topic to a dead horse, but we're a year ahead of schedule. And I think Indiana kind of proved, and I was the one that was saying that in their detriment a little bit, that Indiana had the same exact roster, right? This year to last year. So I don't think the Knicks blow it up. Knicks keep it all together, hopefully. Maybe add a piece or two. I want to tell you something that's really concerning for me. I mean, the fast breaks, we all know, okay? And we'll break down the game a little bit as we go on. But who's the star of the New York Knicks? We all know. It's one guy.
Jalen Brunson.
Yep. What does it tell you when your star player can't dribble it, is having a hard time making it to half court? He's a point guard. And they're pressing him, which you don't very rarely see. Like, it wasn't a full court. It was a full court press man on man, but they're full court pressing the Knicks. And
it was almost like they flip-flopped it, because that's what you were doing to Halliburton.
That's what we did to Halliburton.
And
they
the
kinda
game
gave us
before.
a taste of our own medicine. The problem with Halliburton is we can get in his face, but he's one of those guys where he's impossible, like, to really
He's real long. He's real big.
Yeah,
He's got
and
so
he
many
puts
windows to
some
get the
point.
ball out.
Brunson, now, I didn't like how Tibbs adjusted to that because, for example, I remember when the Celtics played the Golden State that year and Marcus Smart was all the way up Steph Curry. Boom, right away, Draymond Green started to bring the ball up the court. So if Brunson can't bring the ball up the court, why are we still letting him bring the ball up the court? He has to now be what Steph Curry is a lot, an off-the-ball point guard, right? Brunson has amazing touch. He's the core of our franchise, or, of our team. And
so who would you rather bring the ball up with that starting lineup if it's not Brunson?
Yeah, Hart, Bridges. I mean, even
maybe
Towns.
Bridges, Hart. I mean,
I think Towns
Hart wasn't playing good. He wasn't even on the floor.
Yeah, I think Towns can bring it up if Miles Turner's on him, right? And that's why Draymond Green is such an asset, right? Because he's always got the power forward or center on him. So Draymond Green just blows right by him, gets the ball up the court, getting it in the offense. The ball gets very sticky with Jalen Brunson, right? So now he's dribbling the ball up the court, and now he gets past half court. 2 seconds later, we're 14 seconds into the shot clock. Now we're kind of pressing. We can't even get into our offense because Nembhard is giving him so much trouble just bringing the ball up the court. Brunson has great handles, and he's amazing around the hoop. He's a good shooter, but it was real demoralizing that our point guard and the star of our team, the guy who got us here and has changed the New York culture within a season or two,
He only had 19 points. That was clearly indicative of the defense that was pushed against him. He averages 29 in the playoffs, 30 for the season.
Good. Yeah, the defense was real good. Now, I'll tell you, at the time, it was real hard to get over, was the Miles McBride 3 that they said he stepped out of bounds. Twitter was blowing up the world when they replayed the video. He didn't step out. His heel, it shows, went over the line, but not on the line.
It was the Sean Elliott play whenever it was in the 96.
I know, right? We all know. I mean, these players have big feet, right? So it's like they're trying to.
You can sit there and literally put your toes down, keep your heels up. That's what they're trained to do. They shoot off their toes.
So he catches it and makes a huge jumper, brings us within 9, right?
Sure.
Now we can feel the stop coming. We feel like emotions are starting to get. We're going to go on a little run. Nope. They take the bucket away. Goes back to 12. Indiana goes down and bangs a 3. 15 points. There were so many times in that game, and that one we got ripped off. But a lot of times where we'd have a 3-on-2 fast break, we would turn it over, or just numbers, right? We would turn it over. They would come down, hit a 3, and there's the swap, right? You're like, oh, we were just down 7, could have been down 5. Now we're down 10. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
The loss didn't hurt. I mean, obviously, we should be going to game 7, right? Halliburton bricked the 3, and it went in. He bricked it.
It changed the entire series, man.
Yep, he bricked the shot. So this should be game 7. It's not, but we're a year ahead of schedule. We don't blow up the roster. We keep it as it is. And I think that we still, I like it, Sharky. We still just add a piece or two. But I think Tibbs in the regular season, okay, we got these guys playing together. We know they can play together. I don't think we get rid of Josh Harder. I mean, not like that's in the works, but
so what? You just run it back? Just run it back. Let him get more experience. The Cavs are going to be good. You think the Celtics are cooked, right?
Yeah,
you got the Bucks.
Yeah, I think that the Celtics.
What happens to Giannis? We think he's staying.
Yeah, and I think the Celtics might be scary, right? Because they might be a play-in team because Tatum won't come back to the All-Star break. But that's a real scary team because they're going to make some changes. They're not going to just – it's going to be Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and I think Derek White. Those 3 could take anybody, right? If you keep Pritchard, like the little pieces like the Hausers, that's a team that I think – trust me, if I'm a Knicks fan, I don't want to play them in a play – we want to play them in a playing game, but I don't want to play them in the first round, you know? But, yeah, but Jeff
Schneider thinks you need more shooting.
But we have McBride, who I think is going to blossom again. He's the best shooter on our team. And then I don't know if we keep guys like Shamet, but yeah, maybe on the bench. But I think Bridges in the offseason probably sees what he was, and he could be a better 3-point shooter, even though I think he made some big buckets. Now, we mortgaged the future for Bridges. That's why Knicks fans are so frustrated.
He gave up a lot.
He didn't play, but Bridges made some big defensive plays, right? The Pacers moved up light years as a better team with the same exact roster. I don't always think a copycat league is good, but I truly think that we have to keep this roster together.
You got to let your team develop the chemistry, go through this run. I mean, they kept the Celtics team together for a few years as they were losing in championships, right? In the Eastern Conference Finals and whatnot, before they actually broke through, made the win. I mean, you just got to trust the process, right? Let them grow. Keep Tibbs dialed in. Maybe get one more guy, another 6-man dude who can come in and spark. Well, I mean, just one player away, maybe.
No, yeah, like I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would just like to see us now. The difference is Tibbs has to change, right? He has to change running his starters into the ground. We don't have that kind of roster, right? If you have an OKC roster, run them into the ground, get them the reps. But we have, I don't want to say we're an old team, but we have a veteran presence. We have to keep these guys minutes down. And I feel like that's the only way that I heard a lot of chatter. They look tired. They look worn down.
They're gas, man.
Yeah. So I feel like, I mean, they're all in their mid to late 20s, so I don't know. But it could be that Tibbs ran him into the ground, the difference between 28, 29 and 23, 25, 23, 24, 25 is a big difference. So yeah, it hurt, but I'll be honest with you, it didn't hurt as bad just seeing that we got in that game, at least in most games, we outplayed them, right? And then Halliburton bricked the first
yeah,
shot.
Man, those first 2 games obviously were just so crucial, and it's hard to come back once you lose that home court advantage. I thought you guys played admirably with what you did. It just seems like the shots just didn't go down at the right time. You know what they say, make or miss league, man.
No, Jeff, I disagree with you. I think Tibbs can change. You want to know why? It's not very hard. He went deeper into the bench in the playoffs, so he did change. He changed everything. He changed his starting lineup, which he doesn't really have a reputation of doing. Tibbs can change. It's not like we're asking the guy to lose 150 pounds. No, just don't play your starters as much. He's going to change. I think he's going to watch a lot of these films and say, man, we could have went deeper into our bench throughout the regular season. We didn't have to treat every single game in the regular season like it was a game 7. You know?
Was it a little salty? Because I know like it was near the beginning of the series whenever this was happening. And I realized, Obi Toppin was for the Pacers. And I was like, hey man, former Nick, first round pick,
Yep.
right? He was 8th overall, slam dunk contest. You're like, he's just like this spark player. I think he fits good over there. And he's the guy that comes out and kind of puts them on his back that game, right? Like Siakam was balling, but Obi
Toba had the
Toppin
best
was doing
game of
his
the
thing.
series for him. Now the thing is, he had a horrible series. He made the big shot in game 1, and then he really went. I think he went like 0 for his next 10 and for threes, and then he had a big game last game. I feel like a lot of his buckets were. I mean, I thought the game was kind of over. The Pacers came out in the second half, and they came out like what they did in game 4, and they just spread the lead real quick, and we couldn't catch up. But as a Knicks fan, it's been 25 years. We have hope. And as an NBA fan, at least we're going to be able to, I think, watch a series this year and an NBA run by either team where we won't have an asterisk on it, right? It'll actually be teams playing against each other that played the best of the best. And now these two teams, I think, have shown that they probably are the 2 best teams in the NBA. And let's transition right into that series. I'm shocked that everyone is counting out the Pacers. Nobody's
shocked?
giving them a shot. Yeah, I'm shocked. I thought the winner, I said this when it was like game 5 or game 6. OKC took the Denver Nuggets have been horrible, have been not good all year. Denver has not been the NBA champions they were a couple years ago. And Denver, who didn't have a coach, Denver took OKC to game 7, right?
I think there was some important information in that series too. I think that my point that I brought up to you is that OKC wins by a lot. It's like an average of 13 points. I think for the Pacers to really have a chance in this series is they got to keep games close. You can't get boat run. You got to be there in the fourth quarter. The Pacers are an exceptional clutch team whenever it comes down to the late stretches. And we saw an absolute debacle by the young OKC team in that game 1 against the Nuggets. Whenever Chet misses a couple free throws, Chet Holmgren misses the free throws, right? Aaron Gordon ends up getting the ball down the court and bangs a game-winning 3. And that was like stealing momentum right there. I feel if you can put a young OKC team under the pressure, not where they're used to playing comfortable, 20 points out, you know what I mean? Then I think you got a real chance, man. I think Indy, like Jeff had just said, they have the depth. They got plenty of guys, just like OKC. I think they're the 2 deepest teams. And as long as they can keep it close with a young OKC, I think you're going to see some mistakes. So you're going to see a couple of decisions that are questionable by some of those young players. You might see SGA step on the line, like Chet might not be the guy. He could get bodied down. I'm really excited to see it. I think you're right. I think Pacers do have a really good chance to make it a competitive series. If you ask anybody, pretty much anybody, everyone thinks it's a gentleman's sweep. I honestly think this finals is pretty unsexy. I don't think it's going to be great for ratings. I mean, I don't think it's like the 2 greatest, right? The markets aren't anything. Only people who even care about this series is anybody who's an SGA fan from Oklahoma or Indiana. I mean, that's really about it. I think obviously the purists are going to care. I just don't see how this is going to be super marketable. How the NBA could really be happy with this, with the product that it is. But I like the teams. I like the players. I like the series. I'm excited for it,
No, yeah. I think that if you're a pure basketball fan and obviously a sports fan, people like us will watch it. Ratings will be down, but that's besides the point. I mean, these are the 2 best teams, I think, and it hurts to say that, but Indiana, OKC might have exposed the Knicks a little bit because if Indiana could full court press us and OKC could full court press us, so I'm a little more at peace with that loss. I think we just have to make a couple changes in the offseason.
Yeah.
But as this series goes on, I think that I don't think SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a bad defender, but I think Halliburton will find his spots. And the one thing is, OKC isn't a run and gun 3-point team. They don't really play that style. They play great defense and they move the ball around and they try to get easy baskets. You know what I mean? They're not a team that just fires 3-pointers all game. They're in the bottom half of the league all year in 3-point attempts.
Sure.
And obviously 3-point makes too. But I just don't see, I don't know, if Minnesota got one and beat them by 40, Indiana's going to get 2 or 3, right? And if Indiana gets 2 or 3, then I could see it going 6 or 7 games. I mean, and
I'll make it right now. I think the greatest thing about Indy is that they're underestimated every time they start a series. And I think their best opportunity is to come out and steal game 1, man. June 5th, game 1, Indy, make it close, steal 1. The whole series is going to have
what the problem is?
Context,
You know what the problem is with Indiana, and the Knicks were on roller skates a lot that last game too, is that 95% of the time, everybody on the court can shoot threes, right?
Sure.
So you have Siakam, Halliburton, Nembhard. So when everybody's on the court and you shoot threes, you got to run them off the 3-point line. Why? Because a 3 is more than a 2, right? And so it's different where OKC, Hartenstein doesn't shoot threes, right? Chet for a big man is a really good 3-point shooter, right? And he's getting better. But it's a big difference when you have 3 to 4 guys on the court that could dagger threes, and when you have 5. Pacers at all times, except for when like the backup center's playing. I mean, for fuck's sake, Thomas Bryant was 3 for 3. Right?
Yeah, he had like 9 points, 3 for 4, something like that.
Yeah, and he started 3 for 3. And I'm like, God, I mean, it's just
like who? Thomas who?
So I think that, I don't know. I think it's going to be a great series. And that, people were joking, is anybody going to watch this game outside of OKC and Indiana? Yeah, 2 small market teams out of the Midwest. Disaster for the NBA. But that's why they say there's no fixes in sports anymore, right? People make too much money, and it'll be a fun series. Hey, did you we didn't really talk about this in the pre-show, but did you get a whiff for the whole Stephon Diggs thing?
Yeah, man, if you want to just flash right into the NFL, we could just drop right in there. I saw the video. He looked like he was on a very nice boat in a very beautiful part of the world on the water.
Yeah,
I think I heard Kevin Blackistone mention it was like Cardi B hanging out with a bunch of girls that listen to Cardi B. Obviously he's on video with these ladies. There's a pink substance. Yeah. Some people have come to the defense and said that looked like it was Dramamine medicine. Some people from Miami may think differently. I think that we all know that pink means good. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's also the guess of somebody had written, oh no, it's just headache medicine. I'm like, I don't understand why. Now I loved Vrabel's reaction. Vrabel says,
talk about it. Go, yeah.
Yeah. Vrabel's like, yeah, we know about it. We just want you to make good decisions. We'll keep that conversation between us.
Yep.
I love that about Vrabel.
I like that how Vrabel didn't deny it also. Like, oh, I don't know.
100%, yeah.
Attacked it, moved on. But keep
going. I mean, do you think that when you have like Robert Kraft as your owner that you feel a little bit more freedom? You know what I mean? The guy's already known to be a little bit of a, partier himself. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, I thought Vrabel was going to come in here and lock this down. Obviously, Diggs is doing Stephon Diggs things. So I'm very curious. I think the guy's got 1,000 yards in him. I don't think this means anything, but does it say anything that he did miss the voluntary workout the very next day? The video comes out, and then you miss voluntary workouts.
So yeah, right. Yeah. So we know he's not a selfish guy, right?
Sure.
And 2, I think that, those voluntary workouts, these athletes are training all year round, right? So he's got a high profile girlfriend in Cardi B. If they had a planned vacation on a yacht, you're going to miss your voluntary workouts, right? In a new team, it's a little weird, but yeah, I thought.
Well, he's a leader. I mean, do you think he's going to don the C on his chest? He might. He might be a captain.
Yeah, and I think Jeff made a good point. One, he likes to share, right? So give him credit for that. Two, we never saw him do it on camera, right? So a lot of those
Right.
athletes are around that stuff all the time and they don't touch it and everybody else does, right? Three, he wasn't filming. So you got to be smarter and we could talk about that. But at that
But he knew
moment,
he was on film, did he not? I mean,
yeah,
he was
but
clearly
at that moment, you don't think someone's going to be like, and that's like in that snitch category, right? You
sure,
know,
like you're not going to
the
post that,
guy
right?
that is probably paying for the boat and paying for the pink substance, we'll call it Dramamine, like you said. Um,
Dramamine.
you're going to really just throw him under the bus after he just signed a big contract? Because that would give the Patriots some, if they wanted to go into that process. I don't think that's going to happen because Beckham got caught with some stuff, and he was actually doing it. So it's actually, I don't know if he was doing it on camera, to be honest with you, but or maybe he was, but they didn't show it. But yeah, he wasn't filming. He didn't do it.
Who are you saying? Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, he got caught a while
When you played golf with Odell Beckham Jr. and Eli Manning, did that happen to come up? Like, was that
Yeah.
like something that you would want to ask? Or
yeah, when we were golfing together, it was a great foursome. Me, a good friend of mine, Bobby Bradley, and Eli Manning and Beckham. When I say a foursome, it might have been for one hole, but details, tomato. But it was never came up. But I think star receivers do their thing. He wasn't doing it a day before game day. He was doing it in the off season. Mind your own business. Move on. He has to be smarter. And I bet you Vrabel had that conversation in Kraft, right? First of all, you should be taking everybody's phone. You are a star of the NBA league, of the NFL, right?
sure.
You're a star of the NFL. You are now our number one receiver. You are taking over for Drake May, where there's still question marks on Drake May, right? So yeah, and hey, Jeff makes a good point, right? So I didn't know the NFL could test you at any time throughout the year. I thought that was one of those things that they had there was a window, but if they could test you throughout the year, then I'm sure that he did get tested then, right? Over the next
Had to be.
And I know Dramamine and some stuff, unlike other substances that, like gummies and things like that,
Sure.
Dramamine leaves your system a little quicker, let's say, right?
Sure.
So I've read.
Science says.
Yeah. Let's bounce around here. Oh yeah, okay. This is starting to drive me crazy. I wanted to bring up last episode, but we didn't. But can we get like a made bucket or a double? It's not NFL season. We'll just talk about these two for now.
Everyone's all throwing up signs.
Can you hit a double and not do and just you're making
in baseball they do the head thing, right? And
I know, right? Like they
do the wiggle.
To be a Scrooge, you could go out and have fun, but hey, pal, you were just 0 for 3. You're batting 250 for the game. You hit a double. You got an RBI. Hey, you might get a run that scores. But I'm getting tired of every time someone makes a 3-point shot, it's, all these things. It's crazy. I'm like, you're out there. You're supposed to be doing what you're doing. You can have fun doing it, but it gets exhausting on every possession to just keep on going and going about celebrations here and there. Is it something that you think is good for the game? Is it, hey, they're just showing positive energy? Or are you kind of like, hey, can we just not take it away, but tone it down?
I think that number one, you're a professional. You're being paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, depending on your level of contract. And you should act like you've been there before. I think that it makes you look a little silly and inexperienced or a little immature if you over celebrate or if you're celebrating the small moment, right?
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to sit there in baseball and you hit a crucial double in the, World Series or in a playoff game or a game that has playoff implications, something like that, okay, we don't mind it. We don't care about the bat flip whenever you walk it off in front of the world. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's good, but just have it be for a good reason. I mean, we're in freaking June and you guys are acting like you just won a game 5 or something in a crucial clinching game in a playoff wild card game. I'm all right with it. I don't mind the swag. I don't mind the energy. I just feel it would be better if better used. Like Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA, he waited years to use the Reggie Miller choke move. I don't know if it was the right context. That's all debatable. It's arguable. But like he had a move, he wanted to use it. It's premeditated, right? And
Yeah.
that's what everybody's doing. You're waiting to unleash your viral, opportunity or moment in front of the world whenever this happens. I get why they do it. I personally think it's better used if it
Yeah.
was in a better situation. That's all.
Yeah.
Super easy take, nothing crazy. I agree. I think if it doesn't matter, you shouldn't be celebrating.
No, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Did you how did you like how the Dodgers Yankees series started out with? I mean,
Man, that
it's only
was that
getting
was
better
kind
than
of
that,
a
right?
yeah, it was. I mean, the series I was really looking forward to, especially watching Freed go up against them. One of the Cy Young guys.
Yeah.
Really was looking forward to that. He got shelled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that against that lineup, it, it's a potential World Series matchup. Obviously, that would be a pretty insane thing. But the last game that we just saw, 18-2, and the way that they just dominated the Yankees. And the caveat for the Yankees, 2 runs, 2 Aaron Judge solo shots. I know that, if you're going to lose 18-2, you're not mad about Judge getting the love right there.
Yeah.
But I think it is alarming, man. Like the Yankees are easily the best team in their division.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are the best team in their division, but I feel like they don't have, what is it? I think they're at 39 wins.
The
They're going to
National
be
League
competitive.
the National League is murderers row, right? And
Right, that's what I'm saying. They're going to be way more competitive in the National League than I
yeah,
feel the Yankees are going to feel that competition in the American League. And for the Yankees to get handled like that by a National League team, who we all know is the class of the league, I feel it's definitely a bad checkpoint. You know what I mean? Like you were hoping to see better things, better arms, better offense, like see something. I don't know. I thought it was very disappointing and one-sided. It was a laugher.
I mean the Yankees closed it out on Sunday though. So
Um, sure.
so for Aaron Judge and Otani to come out in the first inning, thought that was super exciting.
Hit shots, right?
Yeah, and then they both go back to back, or not back to back, but home run top of the first, home run bottom of the first, and I mean it shows you the state of MLB. I mean it's kind of hard to get it. Look, I mean I could just tell when I brought it up, your energy, and you're a baseball fan, the energy sunk a little bit, right? This is just MLB. I mean it just is what it is.
Well,
It's
my
100.
energy is also sad. My Braves are like 4 games under 500. So, it's always like, as a Yankees fan, you could be excited. You're in first place. You got Judge, you got guys, right? Goldschmidt's having this renaissance year. Like for the Braves, we just got Acuna back. Our rotation's struggling. We got Sale. We got some guys. It's just, we're trying to get it together. You know what I mean? Like we're still trying to figure it out. And I know that baseball is such a long season. I feel it's hard to get excited in the middle of the season. And you want to keep such even energy in baseball because it is such a war of attrition that I feel that my mood is just kind of like where my team is. We're halfway, we're getting to the halfway point. We're below 500. We got Acuna back, and Ronald Acuna, one of the greatest players in all of baseball, electrifying, hitting
Yeah,
home runs, first couple games right away. We just need to settle in. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think that for the way the Braves started, though, I think there's a chance they can kind of go on a run, right?
Oh, sure. We're just 4th in division, which doesn't, I mean, I hate being under the Nationals. God, it just sucks looking at the standings, being
Yeah.
under the Nationals, under the Mets. It's tough, man.
Yankees are blessed that I think it'll be the Yankees, it'll be the Tigers,
Tigers look good, man.
and it might be everybody else. But MLB right now, there's a little bit of just like when I think there's ratings out there. WM, like when Caitlin Clark plays, sometimes that's beating Sunday Night Football or Sunday Night Baseball. You know what I mean? So, I was
Long
looking
season.
over. Yeah, I was looking over some mock drafts, right?
All right.
And jumping into fantasy football here. There's not a lot to talk about right now, right? So if you guys got something in the chat board, like and subscribe, please. But we'll fire up some conversations. It's very hard for me.
All right, so hold on. As we're going back into football and
Yeah.
hold the fantasy note, what the fuck's going on with the Steelers, man? Like, you over here trying to get Jonnu Smith, right? And you're
I
trying to like
know.
trade like these picks away, and it's I'm very confused. I mean, they got. I want to hear from Certified Rob on this from the rookies, our other wonderful person, the community of pop sports. What are y'all doing? Trying to get Jonnu Smith? You already got Pat Frymouth. You don't use him. You still don't have this quarterback. Are you trying to make it more sexy to lure in Aaron Rodgers with
Were
Jonnu
you
Smith?
more surprised that the Steelers were trying to get him or the Dolphins were trying to give him away?
Didn't you and I just talk about how he was unstoppable at the end of the last year?
Yeah.
And like it was like their whole scheme of offense, instead of going with Tua and all these under routes, with Waddle and Hill and yada yada, it was like it became the Jonnu A-Chain show. It was like Jonnu Smith, A-Chain, A-Chain, A-Chain. It was a
Yeah.
very different look from what they were doing early in the year.
And also, so he's not at workouts right now, which he's making a stand here because he wants to he doesn't like his contract. You know what I mean? And he feels like he outplayed his contract. And something like that, I think, he might have the right to do that. And him and Tua have amazing chemistry, right? And you're kind of in this situation where you got to cash in on Tyreek Hill, right? He's going to be starting to tail down a little bit. I think he comes out this year and has a big year. But with Waddle, I don't even know how to explain Waddle in a way, right? They've been quarterback receiver in college. And for some reason, when Tyreek Hill came, Waddle just hasn't really been the same, right? But anyways, he might have a big year. Jonnu Smith was an amazing tight end the last 8 to 10 games.
He was a league winner last year, man. He was a legit league winner.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the contract details. Yeah, so he's upset. The Dolphins signed him for 2 years, $8.4 million, right?
That's disrespectful.
Yeah, and at the time, that's what he was worth, right? Because when a player signs a dotted line, that is your worth, right? Your house can be worth 600, but if you sign on the dotted line for 515, then that's what your house is worth at that exact moment. It might change. It changed for Jonnu Smith, right? And
changed for Jonnu Smith.
I want to say this is bluff talk by the Dolphins, kind of, right? Like,
hey, you heard the chatter too. We were just talking about it yesterday after the whole birthday golf scramble. Thank you everybody who came out, by the way. Appreciate all the birthday love. Meant a lot. You got Mike McDaniels up in Tyreek Hill's face, like in camp right now. Like Tyreek's pissed off. He's not happy right now. Jonnu Smith is pissed off. Like, and I was asking Jeff Schneider and some of the boys, how do you feel about being one of these incredible athletes and like Mike McDaniels is coming up in your face with his little Gucci glasses, smells like banana boat sunscreen. He's got his gel dripping down his hair and he's trying to motivate you about technique and coaching. I could see sometimes how it's lost in translation. Give me Vrabel, Campbell, one of these real coaches. If they're up in your face and they're spitting on you, you feel blessed to have that, right? And like, these are the kind of guys, the picture that I get in my head whenever they're correcting or coaching in the moment. Like, obviously Tyreek Hill isn't about this Mike McDaniel swag. Like, you would think the Dolphins are on the wrong side of all the chatter right now with what they got going on. You think that's a fair assumption?
Yeah, but I do disagree with you. So McDaniels has a lot of respect in the NFL.
Sure.
And yeah, he wasn't a football player, obviously, right? The guy's, 5'4", 130 pounds.
Yeah, he's a genius when it comes to the numbers in offense.
And I think that he thinks, and I agree with what he's doing right now, is he has to change the culture a little bit, right? And I thought that I haven't always been a fan of him because on Hard Knocks, he was a little too cool, a little too laid back. And
isn't he hitting the vape pen on the sidelines?
Yeah,
I mean, like, there's like videos, there's like things. I'm just saying he's always being too cool, right?
He's a little too analytical, I think, sometimes. And I think the Dolphins have suffered, right? So I think I kind of like what he's doing. You stay true to yourself, but he needs a shift. And the Dolphins, I think he saw, they went to the playoffs 2 years ago, got smoked by the Chiefs because it was too cold for Tua, right? And he couldn't hold the ball. Then next year, they missed the playoffs. And he's looking at what these guys have that he doesn't. And I think that there's a lot going on with there's a lot going on with the Dolphins roster, but the Dolphins roster is good enough to make the playoffs in my mind. And for them
are they winning that division? It's the Bills division, yeah?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Bills are really good, but
I mean,
I think
obviously we don't know. We're just looking easy projection. Love the Bills again to take that division this year. You
yeah,
got
but
the Jets.
The Dolphins could go 11-7. The Dolphins can win 11 games with that roster, right? And when you have Tua, when you have Tyreek Hill, when you have Waddle, and now you have Jonnu Smith, they have a pretty good offensive line, a great play caller. That team is good enough, and I think McDaniels has to step up the intensity, and he knows that. So that's what
That's
he's
with
doing.
Johnny Smith though, but they're losing Johnny Smith.
No. They're not losing him. They're just saying he wants to restructure his contract. His agent came out. I'm looking at it right now. I think the Dolphins are almost like bluffing in a way.
You think they're going to keep him?
I think they're going to keep him, and I think he didn't show up. The agent says he wants to restructure the contract. They said, okay, well, if you're not going to come and honor your contract, right, then we're going to maybe talk trade talks. And so I think the
Javi
Steelers
says Patriots better record than the Dolphins. Book it.
Yeah, and he might not be super in the minority there, but I think the Dolphins, they were a playoff team 2 years ago, and they were kind of hurt last year, right? I mean, not kind of, they're always hurt. But I think this is the year where
Are the Patriots out Joe Milton? Are they running out Joe Milton? Is there something I don't know about them winning all these games? I thought he left to the Cowboys. I thought he was ours.
Supposedly, Drake May has looked atrocious in offseason workouts, and there's been a lot of documentation on that. I think he's good enough to be a quarterback for the next 12 to 15 years. But I heard there are a lot of question marks.
Do you think they should have just took Ashton Genty, or do you think they should have?
I know a lot of Patriot fans.
I hate their running back situation in New England. Right? It's I want
a good friend of ours, Patriots, knows everything. He goes, I want him. I want him. He didn't want that.
He was begging for him.
Yeah, he didn't want that offensive line.
Javi, the other Patriots fan from Rookie of the Year here on our Pop Sports Network, was very happy with their draft and said it's just fine to not get Genty.
Yep.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm going to look it up. But I think the Dolphins are the second best team in that division. And I think that.
So you got Bills 1, Dolphins 2.
Yeah, and then Jets, Patriots, who cares, right? Both of those teams.
Sorry, Gene, nobody cares.
Actually, but if you want to say that the Jets, I do think Fields might change that team around, might also help.
Fields says I think Fields could be great, man. I like Fields better than I like Mac Jones.
Yeah, might help. I think Fields helps Breece Hall a lot.
May, all these other young quarterbacks and that whole thing. Yeah, I like Fields' chance out there, man, with New York. Okay,
there were two different sites. I wanted to bring this up to you too as a Cowboys fan. The one I'm looking at right now, last night I was looking at, I don't know if it was Hard Rock or MGM, but they had the Cowboys at 7.5 over-under wins.
Right. Take the over.
Okay, and the main reason why it was like that it's because their schedule is really hard, right?
Right.
Obviously, if you're in the NFC East, your schedule's hard because you got to play the Eagles and the Commanders twice. ESPN has them at 8.5 wins. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, Dak Prescott, wasn't he like runner-up in the MVP 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's just like, I mean, he got hurt. He's getting kind of disrespected, and the Cowboys are getting disrespected. And
yeah, I think
saying this as a Giant fan, I don't want them to win. I'll never root for them. But in a way, they've kind of almost, Dak, it's almost like a little bit of a, underdog story in a way. And this is a team that went to the playoffs 2 years ago, right? They got beat, but they thought that year they might have had a roster to win the Super Bowl. And there were people last year picking the Cowboys to maybe go to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the 7.5, 8.5 wins?
I think it's, I told you when I first started feeling it out, I had us around 500. So, I mean, I could definitely see, it's not too far off. Vegas is always pretty good. I do think that we got 10 or 11 in us though. I think that we're going to win some games that people don't think we're going to win. I think, I personally think the Commanders, Daniels, I think we could definitely split. I think they have a little bit of a step back personally, even with Debo there and with their weapons and whatnot. I know that Jaden Daniels is going to growth, but I feel that he could definitely take a step back the whole sophomore slump thing and adjustments, more teams getting them, film on them and whatnot. I think
mean,
the
I don't know if
Giants.
he can. I don't think he can. I think he definitely goes down a little bit, right?
I heard this crazy thing about Jaden Daniels yesterday, and this is why I've heard multiple things. Okay, he could take a step back, yada yada. Jaden Daniels was the first NFL player to practice with these Oculus Meta
Oh,
headgear or
really?
whatever, the virtual reality. And he was practicing at 2 times speed. And he was the first player to ever do this. He was kind of an innovator when it was coming to this. So he's putting on the gear, and you see these other young quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, whatever, they got these happy feet and they're running around. And Jaden is just so smooth. And he's he's
Yeah.
planted, and he knows that he's deliberate with what way he's going to slide. And I feel that that's a huge advantage. That was a very big help, is being able to see everything at 2 times speed that you practice. So whenever you're on the field, it's just one speed. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just 1 times. So no matter what, it's everything slower to you. I thought that was pretty
No, I
impressive
mean, that is
technology to
interesting
hear about,
because
something that I hadn't even heard about yet.
yeah, I've never heard of that either. That's crazy. That's good info. That's good intel.
I mean, I think that's going to be the future, though. What they're saying is that this is the technology that was being used in European football and soccer, right?
Yeah.
And these are the things that they can read the pitch and the way that the defenses are shifting quicker, right? So they know where to get the ball out. And now you're taking this technology and you're putting it into the NFL, and it's probably going to be the newest thing that we hear about this year. You're probably going to hear about NBA and baseball, and everyone's going to start using it to train. I think it's a big deal to get onto that train and figure out what you need to be doing to make yourself better. With that being said, I think that the Commanders are still going to be a tough team. The Giants and the Cowboys are more the question marks of our division. I see us splitting with everybody from our division. I think the Cowboys play everybody tough in our division. We always love playing the Eagles. And I'm telling you, when it comes to game 1, September 4th, Thursday night on banner night, when the fucking Eagles are hanging that dumb shit, I know we're going to beat them. I'm going to tell you right now. I think we are. I'll say it right now. I think we're going to come out, and I think we're going to put the money line. We're going to win outright. I think Pickens goes for 280 yards. I think CeeDee Lamb gets a bomb, $140. I think our running game. I think our defense is going to win us the game. We're going to be sneakier than what people think, but I think we have an upset right away after this incredible game and the finish that the Eagles had. Go for it. Book it.
And there might not be a better quarterback in the NFL than Dak Prescott in the regular season, right? So, I mean,
And he plays fairly well against the Eagles. I mean, he's always a mixed bag, but when Dak torches the Eagles, he torches the Eagles.
The guy's a great regular season quarterback, and I think maybe this is the year he steps up and goes to the postseason, right?
I mean, he's either going to follow the Tony Romo trajectory and just be perennially, shit the bed in the biggest moment of your career in the playoff for every game you get. And I know Romo had the whole break with the catch and Dez, and it's always the Packers with us, I feel like until the Cowboys can actually win a game against the Niners or the Packers, none of it matters. Maybe we get lucky and sneak into the playoffs and get a good matchup, and maybe chips fall somewhere else to give us a run. It's always about, your field of play. Until I see us beat the Niners or the Packers, that's we just have to. There isn't anything that matters right now. And the Niners are still going to be relevant. Packers are going to be relevant. So it's the same thing. We're here rebooting, and we're trying to go out and beat one of these teams that we just
can't ever get by. Staying in the NFC too. I mean, the Rams, right?
Rams look great this year. We were talking about Devontae, right? And how that is a disgusting number 2. Yeah. 1A, 1B scenario, right? Maybe the best 1A, 1B or top 3 along with Pickens and Lambs, right? You got another 1A, 1B with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, right? These are the combos. I think the Rams have a real 1A, 1B. It's going to be disgusting.
No, yeah, I think you're right. I'm breaking down some of this as we're on the run here. Fantasy football. Man, that's crazy. There's some leagues that they have Gentry going ahead of Saquon Barkley.
100%.
This is
he's a first, second round pick. I don't see it. I think Saquon. Oh, it's right. Obviously, whenever you put him as the number 1 pick overall, I get it, man. Jamar Chase, I get it. He earned it. He's number 1 guy. I don't know. I would feel safer to have Saquon Barkley, especially knowing that the tush push is, it's not like it's banned or anything, but they're still going to be giving him goal line carries. And I think that there was a lot of meat on the bone that was left with him catching the ball last year. I think that it's another year that he's got with this line. I think he's going to have a really solid back-to-back year. Like, I don't think he dips this year. And I would
Yeah,
still
so
take
that
Saquon
Bijan
over Genti. I would
Robinson.
still take Saquon over Genti because of the whole unproven. He's a rookie.
Yeah, you have the unknown too, right?
It's
So
just
then,
so unknown. And like, so you stack the box. So who are they going to beat with? Jacoby Myers? Like, and like, sure, they can. And they got Brock Bowers. But like, don't you feel like anybody who's coming in, you play the Raiders, stack the box, stop Genti, we deal with the rest. Right? Isn't that an easy enough scheme just to sit there and look at them from distance, you know?
yeah. So let me ask you this. I always like doing this with you because you're a fantasy expert, and this is unfair because I'm like completely putting you on the spot here. I'm just going by NBC Sports right now, right? So
NBC.
let me throw some names at you, and I want you to do an ADP. Now, NBC, these are not crazy, but these are a lot different numbers that I've been looking on ESPN.
I don't
Do
have any material up. I don't have a screen.
all
I
right,
don't have my
Lad
book out.
McConkey. I'm going to tell you the name, and then you give me where you think his ADP is. If anyone that doesn't know, ADP is average draft position. So if I say Saquon Barkley, Buff would say 4. That means he's getting picked 4th overall, right? All right. So Lad McConkey, where would you say he'd get picked? This is NBC Sports.
Yeah, number one receiver. Obviously, he was right at 1,000 yards last year. He's definitely the future. They love to run the ball. So he's definitely like the show in town. I would say Lad McConkey's got to be like right there in the 30s. I'll put him at like 28 to 32, something
That's a
like
great
that.
guess because I wouldn't have had him that high. He's at 20.
Okay, so he's even higher with NBC, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a big jump with Lad this year, man. I think he proved it last year, and we saw that late run in the fantasy playoffs. He was just gold. So yeah, I could definitely see him coming out in 20 with NBC. Like, give me 5 receivers that are ahead of him.
Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins.
Do you like that? Do you like Neighbors over him?
So I love Neighbors, right?
Sure.
But that quarterback situation, like if Winston
That's kind of tough. I love Herbert with McConkey and the chemistry. Who's above Neighbors?
So who's above Neighbors?
Right, just like the other top 5 receivers.
Nico
I love
Collins,
playing this game.
Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, CeeDee Lamb.
All of those guys are absolutely supposed to be ahead of McConkey. So now you're putting McConkey ahead of the likes of, sure.
Well, let me tell you who's after him now, right? Let me tell you.
Evans.
After him is Jackson Smith.
And Jigba.
Yeah, I know my lighting's kind of weird. I've been trying to. All right. Last time I did it this way. There was a little more overcast. Today it's sunny. So, So it's a Jackson Smith, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins. As I'm naming these guys, I think you're thinking the same thing I am. I kind of like McConkey over all those guys. Right?
I like McConkey over all of them.
Yeah. All right. How about this? ADP, Zay Flowers.
Number 1. I had a great pick on him last year. He's such a volatile player, man. He's really just in one half he can come out and get you like 10 catches, 2 tutties, and be at like 40 points. And then like the next half he gets 1 catch for 3 yards. It's unreal. I would say this year, Zay Flowers, NBC got him 42.
39. Breece Hall.
God, that's a tough one, right? Because he's just got all this pop and potential, and everybody loves him. Ask Gene. I think Gene has a fat head of Breece Hall. Like, you might have to confirm this. It's like when he goes to bed at night, it's over his bed so he can look him in the eyes and say, "I love you, Breece." I think this is a real thing. I think Breece
Gene
Hall
has Breece at number 1 ADP. What do you think NBC Sports?
Yeah. I think that you got to put him with the PPR. He's a top 10 guy. I would say ADP, he's at 18.
40.
He's at 40 with NBC
Sports. I highly disagree with that. Guess who's right after him? Kyron Williams at 41.
I was going to talk to you about how do you feel about the whole Kyron Williams thing? Do you think he's still going to get the burn, or do you think that Blake Corum starts to buy into that timeshare?
It sounds like people are thinking that I'm shocked actually to see Brees Hall and Kyron Williams 40 and 41. To me, that kind of shows me, man, I might not have to go running back early like most of
Right.
us
I
feel
would
like.
love to have a Brees
Yeah.
Hall coming in with all that PPR value, right? Especially, I mean, who's his quarterback? Justin Fields, right? He's
Yeah,
going to
you
be
could
throwing him the
build a team
ball.
of like a Jamar. You could do like let's just say not a Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Brees Hall, Kyron Williams in a 12-man league. That's actually a way you could build a
That's
team.
a feasible draft order. And
Yeah.
this is NBC now. The thing I love about it is you got three main platforms, or maybe four. You got NBC, CBS, ESPN, Yahoo. And there's a delicate balance between them all. And I practically use ESPN and Yahoo more than the other two. I just agree with
Yeah.
their system more. And they're still always, and I tell you this every year, they're always so wrong with some of their discrepancies on players. And I know that you got to slot everybody in and you're trying to put up and down on trajectory of, depending on your results last year. But my goodness, like, how do you have Brees Hall and Kyron Williams down that low? And like, what are the other running backs that are ahead of them if they're
All
that
right.
low?
I'll tell you the ones that are right after him or before him first. We'll do before him. There's a real drop. Josh Jacobs, there's a big gap between so Jacobs is 30th. So, and then there's only one running back selected in
Jacobs is 30th, then it goes another 10 picks, and then you get down there. Jacobs had such a great year with Green Bay last year, and they just got that receiver Golden this year, right? The fast kid from the combine. So they have another receiver who's going to muck up the wide receiver room. You don't know if it's Wicks. You don't know if it's Dubes. You don't know if it's Golden. They have all these guys. I like Josh Jacobs with that pick at 30 over me investing into those wide receivers just because I really thought Jordan Love, like, he came out in preseason and just drops a bomb in his first game, like one of his first throws. And you're like,
yeah.
oh, wow, this Green Bay offense might finally get unlocked. No, it was not that type of year for Jordan Love. And he was very overdrafted last year for the
Yeah.
numbers that he put up.
Yeah.
I
I agree.
just I like Jacobs where he's at. I don't like the receivers there.
Yeah. Rob, I guess Rob says it's confirmed. So I'm assuming he's a pretty reliable source that Saquon Barkley's on the Madden cover. He pretty much had one of the greatest seasons in NFL history, right? And
2,000 yards, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
and now you argue 16 games or 17 games, but he did take the last game off.
You're going to see all these NFL records keep getting rewritten for the franchises because of this
But the
extra
way
game.
Saquon
Is
did
what
it,
is.
the way Saquon did it, right after a trade, and you could arguably say change the course of history when it comes to NFL contracts at running backs. I think
Everybody will always remember the Giants-Eagles trade with Saquon Barkley.
yeah, and
That will forever.
And that hurts, but I think it's.
I was going to say, like, how does that feel knowing that you knew you giving Saquon to the Eagles, they could win a Super Bowl? They did. You know what I mean? Like,
the thing is, it
you
wouldn't have
were
changed,
responsible for that, not you. But obviously, the whole scrutiny that your general manager and team office is under is pretty unheralded right now. They're definitely
no,
not
I wish our general manager would have been ahead of the curve and just been like,
sure.
you know what? I know that nobody wants to pay for running backs, but he's that special, and we're not going to just give you 12 million. We're going to give you 15 million a year. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And instead, he just wanted to. He was just instead of being an innovator and someone different, he was just being a like-minded individual and just following in the path of everybody else. And just
I think it's probably scary to see us give all that money to Zeke, as in the Dallas Cowboys to Ezekiel Elliott, right? Because we paid him, and then he was just a bum. And then we ended up having to like rent him back out because we never recovered after signing Ezekiel Elliott with our running back game. And Tony Pollard was just a shell of himself until he gets to Tennessee and balls out last year, whatever. I think that it's hard to pay your running backs. I think that you have to have a real eye to decipher which ones are worth it and which ones aren't.
Yeah.
right? You have to
Yeah.
have that eye, and that's the gamble of it. But like, I feel Saquon should have been a no-brainer. And I said it at the time. I loved Ezekiel Elliott, but he always had the head case news. He was always weird. He was weird with the media. He was like just in a locker room wearing a helmet and a wife beater, looking like he's on the spectrum or something, bro. Like, I don't know what the guy's doing, but I'm just like, I didn't want to sign him. He was a head case. So it's just not smart money. And we ate that bullet. I don't think Saquon is comparable. I think he's much better than Ezekiel in all of the mental team
Yeah.
player, like,
Yeah. But
locker room, all of that, bro. He's a true,
it's not even,
true
it's not even
leader
close,
of the
obviously.
Eagles.
But the Giants could have been, the Giants ownership wanted to keep him, and our general manager was just convinced. And at the time, everybody was saying it, but I'm not the general manager of the New York Giants. You are. And instead of just following in everybody's footsteps and being like, oh, running backs don't mean anything, that proved last year. I think Saquon Barkley carved out a great future for a lot of great running backs now.
It
That,
was the resurgence of the running back last
yeah,
year,
he
man.
could
Like, there were
demand that
so
kind of
many
money.
guys.
Look at the 3 running backs that were traded. Who was Saquon, Jacobs, and who else? Derrick Henry, right?
And Henry,
So
and they all balled out.
they all balled
Unbelievable.
out, and they all got their
All top
team.
10 guys.
Yeah. And then
Derrick Henry still getting disrespected. I'll gladly take him in the second.
you could arguably
Third.
say the Eagles don't win a Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley, right? So
100%.
all right, let me get another ADP off you. Travis Hunter.
Oh, God. Man, I want nothing to do with Travis Hunter this year personally, because I'm just not into the gimmick thing. And I know he's going to be playing both ways. I think if you're going to take him as a wide receiver, I love the situation he's in with Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr. was a first-round pick in this, so if that gives
Right.
you any.
You got to. There's just too many other players that are just going to be too good. He's highly
I
drafted.
love watching you like break this down in your head.
Like NBC, yeah, 100%. I'm like, I got him. He's got to be at 45 to 50.
Yeah, that's a
And
good guess. I thought he'd be 80 to 100. He's 54.
yeah, he's right there, dude, just because there's already a lot of talk of how he will be a focal point of that offense.
Yeah.
And he is going to be the dude underneath who's letting Brian Thomas get open up top, right?
Yeah.
Or he could take it deep. Like, I mean, the thing about Brian Thomas is he does everything. And so however you try to cover him, I guess you just kind of tic-tac, you know what I mean? You just kind of play off of that.
You take in Pickens or Travis Hunter?
Pickens, not even close. I think Pickens is going to –
That's what I think.
I think Pickens is going to have an insane year this year. I think that you're going to see him make those signature contested catches, but I think our offense is going to be kind of nasty. I think we're going to have some of those easy plays for him. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the Steelers offense who is just so ugly. It's not even sexy to watch. I think that there's going to be a lot of air yardage. I think Pickens is going to get loose, and I think Pickens balls out. I got Pickens. If I were to go ahead and quantify his numbers for the year, I got Pickens at like 1150, 9, and 70. You know, like I think that's those are all fair.
Both receivers go over 1,000, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, I see Pickens. The guy is so special. Like when I was blessed with that opportunity to go to the Monday Night Football game, Giants Steelers, and just being on the field, like he just everything looks different with him. And then I think he had 2 touchdown catches called back that game, but the guy is just special. And I think that he's going to get a lot of, he's not going to face a number 1 defensive back all year, right?
That's a huge deal. Just like we were talking about Devontae or Puka, who doesn't face the number 1 year problem.
Yeah. Now you obviously get rotated, so I know some people are like, oh, you don't know that, but we do know he's not going to be getting all the attention every play, right?
All right, so let me ask you this: we talked about this yesterday with Jeff Schneider, and your darling, who was incredible for you, Baker Mayfield, real potential to be a QB1 this year. They just got Mbuka. They got another receiver. You were saying 2,000-yard receivers. Do you think Baker's got it in him to have 3,000-yard receivers?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the first time in NFL history, obviously, right? And I don't think
it would be the first time. I thought, didn't Carson Palmer get close with Arizona back then?
Who?
Was it Carson Palmer in Arizona? I thought there was a couple people that got close with it.
I could.
No, yeah. I was curious. You're probably right. I was just curious.
I'm going to say that 2,000-yard receivers has only happened a few times. And, if you think about it, if Baker had to, is Baker, the real question is Baker going to throw for 5,000 yards, right?
Gene, will you look that up? Check us out. See how many teams, 2,000-yard receivers, 3,000-yard receivers, while we keep this going. Because I think that you got Mike Evans back. Mike Evans, you get the extra game. He's good for a rack period. He made a rack, and he was not even healthy last year.
Yeah.
I think Godwin back. He's all through the middle. He was really breaking out. He's unbelievable. Bucks paid him. Such a classy organization. I know all of those who are close to the Glazers have nothing but great things to say about how incredible their family is. And then you got this guy Ibuka and McMillan. They still got two other. McMillan didn't go anywhere, right? Ibuka and McMillan. What's Ibuka's first name? I'm just known by Ibuka. Is he not on your list? I'm just like these.
I don't think I'm going to say this. You think there's ever been a guy that's done 2,000 or a team that's had 2,000-yard receivers and won 500-yard? I'm going to say I don't know if that's ever happened.
I think that's happened. I would say.
Yeah. So if Baker's got to over 5,000 for that to happen, that'd be 300 yards a game. Yeah, that's never going to happen. I'm going to say
it's never going to happen.
I don't think it's ever going to happen in NFL history. That's wide receiver trios.
I think that if you're going to talk about a team with the right weapons, they got them. And they got Bucky, who's got command of the offense.
Yeah, I stand corrected. It's happened once.
Was that Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald?
Peyton Manning.
It was Peyton Manning.
Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Brandon Stokely.
And Brandon Stokely. 3,000-yard receivers.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so yeah, you're right. With all three exceeding 1,000 yards in a single season. That was the only time it's happened.
So now that we know it has been done, and that's Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Okay,
right?
1 second. Yeah, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Jake Reed. They didn't do it, but I'm sorry.
With Cunningham at quarterback, right?
Do this on the fly here, but yeah, but it looks like that was the only trio that exceeded.
Randall Cunningham was a baller back then, dude.
Yeah. That's crazy to think.
He said 5 teams have 3,000-yard receivers. So it's been done. So, I'm talking about an age in the NFL right now, TJ, that we throw the ball more than ever. The quarterback's more protected than ever. The wide receivers have more leeway than ever. Why not?
Yeah.
And if it is it McMillan or is it Ibuka? You know what I mean? And I feel like Ibuka has this pedigree, but McMillan was the guy who's learned the offense and kind of knows his role already.
Yeah. No, yeah, you guys are right. That is crazy. I never thought that. Yeah, Art Monk, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm actually really surprised that there's been 3.
2008 Cardinals. Who was the team on the 2008 Cardinals?
Yeah, they're not on here.
Rob says it is. It's got to be Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, Carson Palmer, and who was the third one? Slipping my mind.
Yeah, I'm actually in shock that I was that far off there. But yeah, so yeah, maybe I don't think the Bucks are there though. But I mean, I can see Baker throwing for 5,000. I love the Bucks.
So you don't think any team goes 3,000-yard wideouts this year?
Yeah, this year it could happen. The problem with the Bucks is they have such a good offensive line and they have such a good running game, right? So the running game is going to take away from the stats a little bit. You know what I'm trying to say?
Come on, certified Rob. Who's the other guy in 2008? Oh yeah, of course. I'm 100% with that.
Fitz, Bolden,
and Steve Breston. That's who it was.
Okay,
Steve Breston. He was a dog.
Yeah.
I knew that was the last one.
That resurrected Carson Palmer's career, right? We kind of thought he was going to be done.
Bro, can we go ahead and just talk about the curse of the Maroons right now? It's a great time, right? So that team went to the Super Bowl. They lost to who? The Pittsburgh Steelers. The history of these two teams are crazy, right? Yeah. So way back when in the 20s, there was a team from Pottsville, Pennsylvania. They're called the Maroons. And they were around the NFL. They were playing with the NFL's league, and they did common practices. And this is from my buddy JC. He got me on the story. I thought it was one of the most incredible stories I ever heard, and it's just stuck with me. They did free agency and daily practices, like things that NFL teams just weren't doing. They had this coal miner as a running back. This guy ran the league over. Like, I'm not even playing you. He was so incredible. And they ended up winning in the championship game against a team that was owned by the Bidwell family, who was still the Cardinals owned the Bidwell family. They never wanted to recognize the championship because they were so butthurt. The people from Pennsylvania cursed the people from the Bidwell family. And then in this Super Bowl, it all comes to fruition. And they end up playing. There's a 99 miracle, what was it, a fumble return or interception by James Harrison. And he runs it back right before half. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then you had the toe tap touch from Ben Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes to like sit there and like clinch it at the end. It's like the curse of the Maroons, man. Only a team from Pennsylvania would end up beating the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have been irrelevant. And I still tell you every year, even with as sexy as those pieces are in fantasy, I am so scared of the curse of the Maroons. I do not invest into the Arizona Cardinals offense.
Talking about that for a while.
And you can vouch for me on this. I'm snake bitten. I believe in the juju, and until they recognize that title, I will never touch Marvin Harrison Jr. I will not touch James Conner after that time that he fucked me against you in the playoffs. Still snake bitten. Like, I just won't touch their offense, man. And I know that's not always the right angle or approach to fantasy, but you got to have your lines in the sand. And I don't play with dark juju, bro. It's real.
Oh yeah, you've always I mean, James Conner hurt you really bad there. What about Kyler Murray? You're gonna stay. What about McBride? What about McBride? You probably just don't want to run that early.
I think he's too high of a draft position for me to take. I think there's too many other tight ends that I would invest into. McBride was great when nobody knew about him. Trey McBride is one of the top 3 tight ends in the league, and you're gonna have to pay for him. I'm not paying one of my top picks to an Arizona Cardinal team. I might pick up a Cardinal off a wire. I might pick up the Cardinal, maybe like, free agency or something like that, but I'm not drafting any Arizona Cardinals, bro.
It is just crazy though. You look at the draft order, like McBride is ADP 27, Lamar Jackson's 28. It's just so funny. It's just funny. Like, if I was to tell you 3 years ago, hey, you'd be like, Trey McBride, a guy has to be like a receiver, a court. No, he's a tight end. And
tight end.
That's why guys like me and you will never have him, because you have to go with the first 3 rounds to get him.
100%. Got to wait on that value. But yeah, interesting caveat about that.
Yeah, the curse of the Maroons. What about I want to talk about Garrett Wilson. You think Fields, because Fields has shown that he can, and he could have a wide receiver 1 and statistically keep him as like a top 10 receiver, right? Like he did with DJ Moore. You think Garrett Wilson and Fields, I mean, they have that Ohio State connection, right?
Yeah, he definitely can feed the ball to a receiver. We've seen. I felt that nobody's really unleashed Fields yet. You got to let him go out there and kind of play ball because he just runs so good. And I know that that's got to drive like coordinators crazy, because you want everything to be so precise about timing. You know what I mean? And everything is about timing, but you just can't ever make up for what Fields can do on his feet whenever the pocket breaks down. He's just such a special athlete. Everybody loves Garrett Wilson. The guy's got all this potential. He just can never seem to get it all in one season. And it was weird because like I felt like Devontae Adams really did take a lot of that shine last year because, like,
no, you're right.
It was his relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and like no matter what, I felt like Wilson was never getting a fair shake, and like if you watch his film, the guy's just open. He's just open. Every time you look, he's open. They just never get him the ball.
How many catches do you think Garrett Wilson had last year?
I would still say, even though I thought he had a bad year, I think he still had like 80 or 90.
101.
101 yards. So he still broke the 100 threshold. And that was with Aaron Rodgers disrespecting him.
Yeah. In our minds, he had a bad year, but he had his best career year. So yeah, and I agree with you. That was still a down year for because
you have people drafting him with the combo as like a first round or second round pick with Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like, he was supposed to be one of those late combo guys. We always love talking about a good combo. And I felt that they had a potential. I think that's a combo in the cheap now if you got Fields and Wilson. You know what I mean? Because I think that Wilson's going to be somebody who slips because of his history and because he plays for the Jets, which nobody likes. I don't know how Gene is alive. I just can't understand, I think that he's been so disrespected only because of the quarterback play. And I feel that he probably slips again, which he shouldn't. I think he slips again, though.
Yeah, and also I do think Garrett Wilson's stats were a little, I don't want to say cheapened, but for fantasy, it's fantasy, right? But I think the reason why
In
we
a
don't,
PPR league, he's gold.
I think the reason why we don't recognize him is the Jets were so bad last year, right? And they were
Yeah.
constantly playing from behind. So yeah, Garrett Wilson had a good statistical year for fantasy. That's all that matters. But when it comes to like as a sports fan, thanks for tuning in, Kevin. If you guys can like and subscribe too, we just appreciate it. We'll talk sports all day, talk football all day. But Garrett Wilson, there wasn't like those big catches that you want to see from your number one, right? Because the Jets weren't in big games. They were constantly from behind, constantly getting blown
And you know
out.
what's so maddening about that is you're looking at his fucking projections every week, and he's like projected 20. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Every week. And he just he lived up to some of the games, sure.
Fantasy wise, he lived up. But just
Right.
as a sport, as a sports guy, you know, it's one thing when you're watching for fantasy, and it's one thing you're watching just as like a player. The Jets were just constantly playing from behind, so you're just constantly getting peppered on like 8-yard ends, and you run for 4 more yards, but you're down 20 or 30. No one really cares. He
Agreed.
made the catch on Halloween night. Yeah, who was that against? Is that the Texans?
That's what they were saying. Wilson made the catch of the year on Halloween night last year.
Yeah, I remember that catch. I think it was against the Texans.
Yep,
Yeah.
Texans. Exactly right.
So, yeah, I guess he made that big catch. And I know. Can we go back to the Steelers really quick? So last week we said Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins. It can't be Mason Rudolph. Now people are saying Mason Rudolph could take this team to the promised land. And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
That is so asinine to say Mason Rudolph can take you to the promised land. But
And
I don't get it either, because they got rid of Najee to the Chargers, right? And I'm like, all right, finally we get Warren. Like, you're freeing Warren. No, they went and drafted another running back. So it's just gonna be another mucked up backfield. I can't stand the Steelers.
I know I said like you don't always want to just copy what everyone else is doing and you want to be ahead of the curve. And obviously Omar Khan's a smart guy. But look at the final 4 of the playoffs, right? It was Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen, right? I mean,
that's a ridiculous class of quarterback.
Where does Mason Rudolph fall in when it comes to like, so you're pretty much saying that we're not even going to be able to make the final 8, because look at the final 8. It was Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen.
You think DK Metcalf's out here buying Mason Rudolph a Rolex, or is he buying him dinner? Is DK Metcalf connecting with Mason fucking Rudolph?
Yeah,
I can't see it.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
Do you think the Steelers need to change a coach? You know they hate changing their coaches. Do you think Tomlin should be done?
I don't think. I just don't think that. I think it's amazing that he's taking these rosters to the playoffs. Okay, I don't mean taking these rosters because they're built top to bottom really good. But it's 4 years now, right, since Big Ben retired, right? And yeah, Tomlin, we can say what you want, but I think he's a safe bet. And I think if you gave him a star. So here's a question. Who's the better wide receiver? Okay, these guys I think are very similar. I think I'm taking Garrett Wilson, right, over Pickens. So the question is for everybody listening, if you're, who do you take, Garrett Wilson or George Pickens? Let's just say, fantasy, or if you're a fan of the team. To me, it's the same thing with this.
I'm going to talk fantasy because nothing else matters. We're going to sit there. I think Garrett Wilson has more catches this year.
Yeah.
I could see Pickens having as many touchdowns, if being similar yardage. I would give that's going to be close too. I mean, that's a great question because they're going to be real interchangeable. But I think the value comes with Wilson because he's going to have the catches, because the Jets are going to be down and the Jets are going to be peppering him with the ball. You know what I mean? Like, it's 100%. I think he's a PPR guy still for garbage time. Love a good garbage time receiver. I don't like drafting Garrett Wilson high at all, but I absolutely would take him as a wide receiver too. 100%. And I think that I think he has more catches than he did last year, even with Justin Fields. And I think he goes 120 catches.
Yeah. I think the problem is, who's the better receiver?
Who's better? I mean, one point that it never gets out of my head with Pickens is that like he just never gets open. He's just always making these incredible catches,
Yeah.
and that is a skill. And I said Garrett Wilson's always wide the fuck open. He's always open. I would say Wilson. I mean, just
Yeah,
out
I
of
think
gun to my head,
Pickens.
I'd say Wilson.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think Garrett's now you have to also with Pickens, he's a number two on the Cowboys. I feel like right, hands down.
Right,
Wilson's
exactly.
number one.
But
Now
that's
the
what makes him so
Cowboys,
dangerous, and that's why the numbers are going to be comparable, is because he has this incredible blanket with CD Lamb that it's going to shade certain scenarios in his favor, where Garrett Wilson is going to be getting the number one DB every single game.
I think you could argue too, because like Garrett Wilson's 6 foot, Pickens like 6'3", 6'4", that Garrett Wilson beats him in catches, right? But
That's what I say. Yeah,
I could see maybe Pickens having a higher yards per catch and maybe even having a higher yardage in the season, but
he could
not
very
as,
well have way more touchdown catches too, because Garrett Wilson doesn't really get in the end zone a lot.
he doesn't get in the end
Pickens
zone
is a red zone target. So I
Yeah.
definitely, now that I'm kind of saying it and thinking about it, I definitely got Pickens with more touchdowns than Wilson this year, 100%.
I could already hear Gene and Rob arguing in the background, right? Because Rob's a Steeler fan. He still loves Pickens. They're just both just banging heads right now. Gene's like, oh, what are you talking about? Garrett Wilson's a lot better. And Rob's going back. Pickens.
Right next to the Brees Hall fathead is a Garrett Wilson fathead that's above on his bed that he gazes every single night. It's very cute.
Yeah. All right. Wrap things up. Oh, yeah. There's one last thing I want to talk about before we get off the air. It's I love sports. I love being a sports fan, right? And Saturday night, we got to celebrate Caton's birthday. He's a teenager. Buff, you and him have close birthdays. And we went from a pool party to having friends and family over and watching the Knicks game. And I was thinking to myself, this is why I'm a sports fan. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And this is why I love rooting for my teams, no matter how long it takes to get there. Because when they do get there, or in the Knicks almost get there, right? You get to enjoy it and appreciate the journey, right? Yep. And it's just like getting more annoying with sports fans, and they're like, no, don't say we're gonna win, because then we're gonna lose. Or you see them watching the game and they're so stressed out. Like, yeah, I'm stressed out watching my team because I want them to win. And I
can't stand the people that are like, I won't go to the Magic game because every time I go, they lose.
Yeah. And it's like, can we get to a point where you just enjoy watching your team? Like, I hate the sports fan. It's like, I can't watch because then every time I watch, they lose. Or it's like, give me a break. Sit back, enjoy watching your team, enjoy it. And I was just thinking, as I'm like sitting there with my friends and family, obviously you had other things going on or you would have been there, but me and you have watched a lot of big sporting events together. And nothing makes me happier besides like being with my family and being with like my wife and kids. But watching sports is like a big part of my life. And I like to do it. And I like to enjoy it. I like to talk a little shit. I like to, you know what I mean? I like to
place a live bet, check some out, get a little action.
I like to be right. I like to be wrong. But it's like, can we as sports fans take a step back and stop being like, it's always negative too. Like, when your team is down, we're the worst team. Jalen Brunson is the worst player. This guy throws it in. Baker Mayfield is the worst player because he fumbled the ball. And it's just like, yeah, you can have an opinion, but like the negative energy that surrounds a lot of sports fans, I just wonder. And I'm not ignorant or blind. I'm not like, woohoo, always positive. But it's like, I wonder why you're actually a sports fan.
You know what? What's a real inkling?
Miserable.
Bro, you and I have not only watched a lot of sports events together, but we've played sports together as well.
Yeah.
And you get to know somebody's character whenever you watch them and interact them when you watch sports. And you really get to know somebody more intimately whenever you get to play and you're on the field and in the trenches with somebody. And sportsmanship's a big deal. And I feel that there's a lot of this negative rhetoric like you're talking about out there from all of these fans that have nothing to do with the game. They're just fans. And they have this poor sportsmanship as a fan. Yeah. And it's like, you wouldn't be talking about that player if he was here in front of you. Like that, number one, calling him a bum or a piece of shit and you can't do this and always dropping, right? If he was here right in front of you, you'd be so happy to have a handshake and an autograph, to buy a beer with said athlete, right? And that's why it's crazy to me, is because sportsmanship is what it's all about. And I feel like as the sports world has just, projected out into the complete universe because of technology nowadays, that you just see more and more cases of the unsavory sportsmanship, because people didn't play sports like you and me growing up. They weren't the athlete that was taught, that you went out and you got your brains beat in by another team and you had to go shake their hand. And then you would have a conversation with them and try to address your deficiency so you can get better. Like, there's a process that goes with winning and losing, and it just doesn't end with the winning and losing. And I think that's where the fans are so prisoner of the moment. You're just a prisoner of the moment. It's the worst thing ever. Cowboys, we're done until Jerry Jones dies, right? A lot of us feel that way, but at the same time, that's not the reality. We can put together a roster and we can get good coaches and we can go out there and win. It doesn't matter if Jerry Jones is alive or not, even though he does particularly hinder us in certain leadership positions. It's not his fault,
And we're not trying to come across as hypocrites, because we do a show, right? So like, and not even, okay, just take away the show. This is our 5th episode, so we're not like, but we're not trying to be hypocrites where, it doesn't mean you can't criticize or do this or do that, but enjoy the moment, enjoy those days. Like, I'll remember for the rest of my life being with my friends and family all day and watching a game 7 of the Knicks. Now, I wish it was the finals, not the Eastern Conference Finals, but as a sports fan, I was like, this is all day. I was like, this is what I live for. This is the moment all day leading up to that tip-off, or, leading up to that kickoff, or leading up to that first pitch. As a New York fan, we've been a little lucky in a way lately, right? The Yankees were in the World Series. Knicks were almost there. But you don't want to come across as a hypocrite, but I just think as sports fans, appreciate it. And just all I ask is enjoy it, right? And just stop being so like, uptight and negative energy. Like, you're not on the field, enjoy
the
it.
melodrama that comes along with it. Like, we all know we get passionate with the moment, but
and it's okay to be nervous and intense, but and even if you're nervous and intense and you're pacing around, just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thanks, Javi. I mean,
that's directly from Boston right there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the New York sports is on a little bit of a drought, but we're always contesting. We're always in it. The Giants.
You're one of the big markets, man. You're always there.
Yeah. The Giants have brought me 2 Super Bowls, both against the New England Patriots over
the greatest quarterback in history.
15, 16 years, right? They've won 4 in my lifetime. 3 I remember very vividly. 1 was in 86. I was a little young, but I kind
Parcells one.
Yeah. But so all I ask to wrap it up, just if you're a sports fan, enjoy your team and quit.
All right, bro. So next time we come out, it's going to be game 1 of the finals. What's your take? Game 1.
Yeah, I say Pacers push them to the brink.
I think Pacers get game 1.
Yeah, I think this podcast, as we've started out legendary. I said the Knicks in 6. You said Pacers beat the Cavs, right? And that got this podcast going with forward momentum that we've never dreamed of, right? Yep. And I think both of us have had a pulse, mainly because we play so much fantasy basketball that we've got to see a lot of things that maybe from a different angle, right? Like the Stephen A. Smiths has just picked the favorite and, move on, right?
Right.
But I think Indiana has pretty much every time on the court 5 guys that can shoot threes. And I think that they're going to have OKC a little bit on roller skates. And I think if a disarray Denver Nuggets team who's looked very pedestrian all year can take them to 7 games, I think Indiana's going to take them to 6 or 7. And game 1, I think the Pacers punch them in the mouth. And let's say prop stars, we're both rolling with the Pacers game 1, right?
Yep. That's it. Crazy little stat just on the OKC side. SGA Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is like the only player right now in the NBA that scored over 20, almost 70 times. He's in the 60s games in a row. The next closest player was at like 14 or 15. It might have been Brunson or something like that. And he just scored 19. That's over. So the guy is going to be a model of consistency going up against the Pacers. You're going to definitely see the MVP ball out and do his thing. It's going to be pretty cool to watch.
No, yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Have a great week.
One love. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. All right, Buff. Talk to you soon. Bud.
Peace.